Welcome to episode 22. Today, I would like to talk about the real self with a capital S that is impersonal, and the small self, which is said to be illusory. And I would really desire to get into the nuts and bolts of both the theory and why it matters, and what are the consequence experiences that go with each belief. So let's just jump in and see what Spirit has to say. I would like to start with what Rupert Spira said on the 15th of January, 2022. The separate self is an illusory entity, a collage of ideas, memories, images, fears, hopes, sensations, and feelings, all strung together by thought, creating an apparently solid, permanent self. Isn't this what we feel we are when we think of our name, we think of our body, we think of our age, we think of maybe what we're good at, what our roles are, our place in the world, our family relations, our friendships, our personal life. But when we look inside for this self, this solid, permanent self, we never find it. I want to add something here. If I ask you, are you alive? How long does it take you to say yes? The thinking types seem to take a few seconds because they think the question. But the rest of us who are more focused from our bodies or our feelings, we say, oh yeah, I know I'm alive. But how do you know? Well, you say, I just know. You can't really say how you know, right? You didn't have to check your breathing. You didn't have to check with a book. You didn't have to check with a text. You didn't have to check with a teacher. You just know. And that is awareness with a capital A. And we've touched on this before, but now I'm going to take it further. What if the real self is you awareness? How or why? How or why is because the real I, the real you, is formless. And that's what takes us. Maybe it's a little heart opening to just let go of this self that we've been attached to, that's been a body. We've been so habituated to thinking of ourselves as a solid being that when we went to awareness, we went to a place or a knowing even. But how could that knowing or place-like place be me? Well, it's a place-like place, remember, because it has no edges. There's no place it ends and something else begins. And that's us. We are this infinite energy. We are this formless being. We don't have the limitations of a body or a mind or feelings. It's really big and really hard to take in. Well, it's not hard. It just breaks a certain kind of hypnosis that we're all fixated on. And remember, when you don't know you're hypnotized, you can only see what the hypnosis tells you to see. It limits what you see. So, like Michael Beckwith says, when you don't see what you do see, you will see what you won't see, and you will see what you don't see, or something like that. We all get what he means. We'll see more when we don't see what we see, and we'll see the invisible when we stop focusing on what we do see. So the rest of Rupert Spira's quote from today is, we find only the true and only self of ever-present, unlimited awareness when we look inside. It's that thing we can't point to when we say we know we're alive. Now, there's a knowing, I want to remind you, of local awareness, where we can point to the personality. And then true awareness, or the real self, this formless knowing that is everlasting. It's behind that local observer and is not attached or changed or in any way influenced by what happens in the changeable world. This is so big to take in and so exciting, because we go up and down based on whatever happens in this world. Now, I call my YouTube channel Transitioning or Traversing Between the Separate Self. When we spend more time in the knowing of who we really are, some of this gets integrated and there's not as much moving about, I'm told. To be truly honest, I still traverse, and I have great gratitude for all of it. It makes me able to speak to everyone. I'm not in such an altered place that I can't relate, or people can't relate, but I do spend so much time in the all rightness of things, the all rightness of everything as it is. It's a miracle. It's a miracle that it could have happened to someone as mercurial as I used to be, as emotional, as attached to my feelings, as attached to what happened. And now, whatever happens, I can have a thought. Like yesterday, I was in conversation for days with my girlfriend who was trying to bring her family home from Spain. And two of the family had to stay behind because they had COVID. And I was one of the main supports for this person. And we were in contact many times in the day. And I was trying to reach her to find out, did the family come back? And suddenly she was offline. Now, I didn't feel like she owed me anything, but I was concerned. Like, I knew the plane was canceled. Did they get another plane? I knew there was horrid weather where they were transferring. Did they get left in that next city? And there was an old part of me, of the personal self, that was a good communicator, and it would have been considered healthy communication psychologically to tell my good friend, hey, next time something like this happens, would you be willing to just write me one line and say, all home safe or offline now, so that I wouldn't continue to write you texts that say, are they home now? Is a celebration waiting for them? But the impersonal I did not have to teach her a lesson on communication. It was even better than that. I knew, A, that it didn't matter. I didn't have to have anything different. B, the real friend, the real her, the real self that is her, knows everything just like I do. Personal self does not exist, and neither does hers. So on the personal level, nothing needs to change because everything is so fine on the impersonal level. So you can see that it skips over forgiveness. Not only did nothing happen and nothing is wrong, but it takes none of my thoughts or feelings. It passed like a cloud, faster than a cloud in the weather. The feeling that I need to change how she communicates, the feeling that there was anything wrong, it took longer to say all this than it did to let it go. I believe that this is what it's like to be established in non-duality, in the impersonal self. It seems from my brothers and sisters who are longer in embodying the non-duality, that these thoughts, just from prior experience as a personal self, continue to come up. This is not a comparison, because that would be the personal self again. This is only my trying to communicate how worth it this is. So when we're coming at this from A Course in Miracles, There's so many ways we could come at this personal self versus the impersonal. The Course so many times tells us that we're not who we think we are. That's such good news, isn't it? But today, what I want to say is really early on in the Course, there's this beautiful saying, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Therein or herein lies the peace of God. And isn't that beautiful? My favorite lessons in the Course, and not just the lessons, but the material of the beginning of the text, the beginning of the workbook, the beginning of the teacher's manual. I'll have to review the prayer pamphlet and the psychotherapy pamphlet. But in all these others, it's the first and the last that are my favorites. Because everything else in between kind of talks in duality. And they're important. It's there when we need it. And I sure needed it. But what does this mean? Nothing real can be threatened. So what if we take that in? The personal self that we're holding on to for dear life, our thoughts and our feelings, we cherish them. We make idols out of them. And then we have to work with them and do all of that forgiveness and all of that choosing again and mind training. And I mean, it's all good. It's not bad. But what does a direct path mean? It means that there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to even purify because we're talking about something unreal. What is the peace of God? What is God? In non-dual terms, God is awareness, which is the I. That is the real self. I came across a new phrase this morning. We've all heard I awareness. That's kind of getting into our deeper understanding that that is who we are. Using that phrase, when we say I awareness, it almost stops you from finishing, I want this ice cream cone. You can't say I awareness. I mean, if you're going to buy the ice cream cone, yes, it's awareness. Everything is awareness. But for me, anyway, I can only talk about myself. I awareness takes me deeper than whether or not I get the ice cream cone, whether or not that urge is important to have the ice cream cone. When I'm in the personal self, what I eat, what I do, what I think, all matters. I'm judging it, I'm evaluating it. It's either good or bad. It's going to get me to my goals, even if I pretend I don't have any. But when I'm in non-duality, when I'm in the embodied, meaning I include my body, but I'm not limited to my body. I extend beyond all borders. So let's go there now together into an experience and see if it passes for the peace that is beyond all understanding. Let's once again take that temperature of a disturbing experience or disturbing thought that we've had recently. It can be something repetitive. All right, I've got mine. Do you have yours? Give it a number, 0 to 10. 0 not upsetting at all, so you shouldn't have picked it. That's not the exercise. And 10 being the most upsetting of all. You can't even imagine being more upset than this. And now let's go with our eyes open and have the room hold us. And what if this room was awake, and an awake room, awake presence, awake air? And the room could be aware of the things in the room. So the room is aware of you, the room is aware of the TV and the couch and the chair and the desk or whatever's in your room. So things would come and go. But if we take awareness that's not localized and step back to that local awareness that is processing the things coming and going in the room, and expand further back and before the room ever existed. Awareness was there before the building was built. Awareness is there right now. And awareness will be there when this room is gone, when your body is gone, when my body is gone. And what if that awareness, that formless space-like place, is what the I am is what the we awareness are? What if it is God energy? And God meaning not a higher spirit, but just the life force that is the isness of all, that is the oneness. What a relief would that be? And come back into the room, because we have only a few minutes left. And in that few minutes, I would love for you to see with new eyes. And before we start seeing, check in that even in those few minutes, when you went to awareness, did that number change on what was upsetting you? For me, I could care less about what was upsetting me. I don't care of the outcome. It's nothing. And I did nothing to change it. I didn't manipulate the situation. I didn't improve myself. I didn't improve the situation. And it's not just taking my mind off it. It's where I put my mind. I put my mind into the seeing, the knowing, what the Course calls knowledge rather than perception. So now let's, in the last few minutes of this podcast or this radio show, wherever you're listening, let's just take a few minutes and see that room that we're in with new eyes. If there's a pillow, feel the pillow as though you're feeling it for the first time. Look at your monitor, if you have a monitor you're watching, and see your face for the first time. Or if there are other people, see them for the first time. And notice how different that is. We see, feel, perceive, sense from habit and memory. And all that you could call junk, or all that perceptions have been accumulated to be what feels like a solid personal self. And for the knowing of this very day, I am so grateful. And I am so grateful to be here with you, to have had this experience with you, and to know that we are deepening together. And together we are making a tipping point in the world of consciousness where more people are stimulated to wake up. I send you my deepest love. Bye for now.